Trump secures border as Southwest border encounters down to record low 11,000 for second month in a row as president enforces law. Hello, this is Robert Romano, Executive Director with Americans for Limited Government and Americans for Limited Government Foundation. Hit that subscribe button. Today, we're going to be talking about the latest numbers on the Southwest border coming in from Customs and Border Protection. 11,000 border encounters in the month of March. That follows 11,000 in February. These are record low numbers of border encounters on the U.S. southern border. And I think it is just remarkable news for the American people. And so we're going to talk about my piece today on this topic. And I wanted you to jump in straight into the numbers just so you can see them for yourself, that it was 11,709 enforcement encounters in February and 11,017 in March. And these are record low numbers. And I've actually, if you go back to the CBP encounters the last 10 years, when you scroll down, you can actually download the data. And so in this Excel sheet, wanted to show you the numbers, monthly numbers going back to 2000. It's never been as low as 11,000 Border Patrol and OFO encounters in a single month. You see sometimes it's like 100,000 or 50,000 or 30,000, sometimes in the 20,000s, 50,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. The lowest that we had seen prior to this was 11,000 in 2017, April, 11,680. And then this is just Border Patrol, though. It doesn't include the OFO numbers and Office of Field Operations. And then you can see that for the rest of it, it doesn't. These are fiscal years, by the way. That the numbers never get below 11,000 or in the 11,000 range. Only just once does that happen. And so these are the lowest numbers we've ever seen coming from Customs and Border Protection under President Trump's leadership. And so I think that the president's doing a very good job here. And, everyone's, kind of worried about, the immigration enforcement. And then Trump is actually trying to do everything in accordance with the law right now. These are all laws that Congress passed that allow him to declare national emergencies, put the military on the border, secure the border, and expedite removals, including for these under the Alien Enemy Act and under the direction of the Attorney General. These are all laws that Congress has passed. And we're going to go through all of these. I first wanted you to hear from the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. She's talking to Sean Hannity here about the Calmir Abrego Garcia case, this El Salvadoran illegal alien who was deported back to El Salvador, where he belongs, under her direction. Let's take a listen.
I want to put up on the screen a timeline because there seems to be, in the media especially, a narrative that is completely and totally and utterly false regarding, quote, Mr. Garcia. And not one but two courts actually said he was an MS-13 gang member and identified him as such. Can you please explain what you know about him?
Yeah, Sean, factually, this is an extremely disturbing case. And as a career prosecutor, it is even more disturbing. Every American tonight should be thanking Donald Trump for making America safer by getting this guy out of our country. I'm going to call him a terrorist because he has been designated as a member of a terrorist organization. So this illegal alien terrorist came into our country illegally in March of 2012. We know that because he admitted that when he was stopped in 2019 by the anti-gang squad. They stopped him at a Home Depot with 3 other members. And here's what's very important. He was wearing a sweatshirt with gang insignia on it. The guy he was with, another MS-13 known member, had a tattoo with very similar insignia on it. ICE declared him as a member of MS-13. The police officers, the gang unit, declared him as a member of MS-13. And also, they independently went to a reliable, confidential informant who said, not only is he a member of MS-13, he gave them the clique, the Westerns, and he was called a Chicao, which is one of the higher ranking MS-13 members. So they rightfully detained him, rightfully. An immigration judge agreed. An appellate immigration judge agreed. Now, here's where it gets even more frightening. In 2021, his girlfriend previously, his wife at the time, who he had married in jail after he'd gotten numerous tickets, didn't show up for court. He marries her in jail. She has a baby with him. And as a career domestic violence prosecutor, too, I know it takes a lot for any woman to come into court and say they're a victim of domestic violence. This woman came into court twice, getting a restraining order against him, saying it's horrific. He had beaten her. He had punched her in the eye. He had ripped her clothes off. What causes a young mother to do this? Her child was with her. She talked about her child in the petition for an injunction for safety. Ultimately, she didn't show up for court. That's your typical domestic violence victim. But this victim was even braver because she was married to one of the top MS-13 members who was illegally in our country and a terrorist. So now
Can you explain?
he gets.
Oh, go ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry, Pam.
Sean.
Finish. No. You finish.
So, Sean, he, under Donald Trump's incredible plan to get these alien enemies, these terrorists out of our country, he is deported. He is deported back to where he came from, El Salvador. He is sitting in a prison, and every American should be thanking President Trump tonight, and every liberal journalist who has called him a Maryland man and saying he was rightfully in this country should be apologizing tonight to President Trump.
So that's Attorney General Pam Bondi speaking on this Calmir Abrego Garcia case, who has been deported back to El Salvador from where, that's where he comes from. And that's just what happens. Illegal aliens have no right to be here. They have deportation orders, and then they get removed from the country. There was a stay on this one. We'll get to that, though. Let's start with these numbers. Encounters on the southwest border of the U.S. with Mexico dropped to a record low of 11,017, according to the latest data by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the lowest ever on record in data dating all the way back to the year 2000. I was just going over these numbers a few minutes ago. This was the second month in a row at these record lows since President Trump began his second term, with encounters on the border in February coming in at 11,709. And you can actually look this up on cbp.gov, Southwest Land Border Encounters, and it's never been this low. These are numbers going back to 2022. You see 11,000, 11,700, certainly during the Biden years. And here you can actually see it going back 10 years on an annual basis, that on the southwest border, and just the national totals in general was 10.8 million under Joe Biden. He was just letting people go, come into the country, and whether they're requesting asylum or just you can come in, stay here, and we'll make it really difficult for you to ever leave if anyone ever tries to deport you, because we've got all these immigration judges and district judges in our pockets. We're just going to 20 million people come here, you can stay, and you'll never get rid of them. You can't get rid of these people. It's just impossible. It's just not going to happen. And I think that, but President Trump is, finding the laws that Congress has already enacted that will expedite not only deportation, but mass deportation. He's trying to get rid of, up to 15, 20 million illegal immigrants. How is he going to do that if he's going to have a trial for every single one of them? How is this going to be done? Compared to a year ago, in March 2024, there were 189,359 encounters on the southwest border. And so being down to 11,017, that is a 94% decrease, proving to the American people and the entire world that border security is about the political will of the president more than anything else. with President Trump declaring a national border emergency on January 20th under the National Emergencies Act. Here's that border emergency. One of the very first things that President Trump does when he's in office is he's signing executive orders. I saw him sign a few of those at the Capital One Arena. Maybe he saw that on television when he was having the presidential parade. And then he's got the signing desk out there, and he's signing executive orders on day one and doing it in front of a crowd of 50,000. And I say that's government for the people. President Trump was getting directly to work. And then one of the borders he signed that day was the national border emergency. And so, we're very proud of the president for taking this decisive action. But it wasn't merely saying there's an emergency. As a result of the declared emergency, President Trump has deployed the military to the border. He has resumed construction of the southern border wall. He's declared gangs and drug cartels to be terrorist organizations, and he is expediting their removal under the Alien Enemy Act and by the Attorney General. The president also declared that the emergency military deployment requires the use of the military under laws that Congress enacted. 10 U.S. Code Section 12320. Here it is, Ready Reserve. This allows for the president to deploy up to 1 million people in the event of a national emergency. So declared. No more than 1 million members of the Ready Reserve. I don't think he'll need 1 million, but he can go up to 1 million if he needs to. And so the president is acting under the law. He's allowed to declare a national emergency under Chapter 34 of Title 50, National Emergencies, and he can put the military out on the border in this emergency. We have a southern border emergency, but that's not all he can do. And like in 2019, Trump is using the emergency to finish construction of the southern border wall under 50 U.S. Code Section 1631. Declaration of National Authority by executive order, and also 10 U.S. Code Section 2808. 2808 is construction authority in the event of a declaration of war or national emergency. That's how he is building the southern border wall. It's how he did it in his first term. It was upheld by the Supreme Court, totally constitutional, but this is a law that Congress had enacted. In addition, Trump has used economic levies on Mexico, a 25% tariff under the National Emergency Act and under 19 U.S. Code 2483. In the event of a national emergency, the president is using his authorities to enact consequential changes in tariff schedules of the United States. So he's putting 25% tariff on Mexico. And as a result of that, he got immediate action. This was actually threatened before he even took office. He had just won the election. On November 25th, 2024, President Trump was saying, as everyone is aware, thousands of people are pouring through Canada and Mexico, bringing crime and drugs at levels never seen before. Right now, a caravan coming from Mexico composed of thousands of people seems to be unstoppable in its quest to come through our country, our currently open border. On January 20th, as one of my first of many executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use their power, and until such time that they do, it is time that for them to pay a very big price. And by February 3rd, President Trump had spoken with the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum. He stated, quote, "It was a very friendly conversation wherein she agreed to immediately supply 10,000 Mexican soldiers on the border separating Mexico and the United States. These soldiers will be specifically designated to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants into our country. We further agreed to immediately pause the anticipated tariffs for 1 month. They've since gone back into effect, during which we will have negotiations headed by Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent, and Howard Lutnick and the high-level representatives of Mexico. So there's ongoing negotiations with Mexico to secure the southern border, but 10,000 Mexican troops are out there. We've got our own military out there with the Ready Reserve, and the numbers, as a result, have never been lower for coming across the southern border. President Trump secured the border immediately. You want to say on day one, this is, pretty much on day one. Within the first 100 days, President Trump has secured the border. And President Trump even declared Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and other criminal gangs and drug cartels as terrorist organizations by executive order. And this is also day one, designating cartels and other organizations as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. On January 20th, he did that. And the president can do that under 8 U.S. Code Section 1189, another law that Congress enacted, designation of foreign terrorist organizations. And that allows for expedited removal if the attorney general and the president agree. And on March 15th, Trump issued a proclamation invoking the 1798 Alien Enemy Act. And here's that proclamation that went into it. Again, March 15th, invocation of the Alien Enemy Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua. And he says that we're going to enforce the Alien Enemy Act on these criminal terrorist organizations, these drug cartels. Here it is, 50 U.S. Code, Section 21, restraint, regulation, and removal. Whenever there is a declared war between the United States and any foreign nation or government, or any invasion or predatory incursion is perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against the territory of the United States by any foreign nation or government, and the president makes public proclamation of the event, all native citizens, denizens, or subjects of the hostile nation or government being of the age of 14 years and upward, who shall be within the United States and not actually naturalized, shall be liable to be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. The president is authorized in such event by his proclamation thereof or other public act to direct the conduct to be observed on the part of the United States towards the aliens who so become liable, the manner and degree of the restraint to which they shall be subject, and in what cases and upon what security their residence shall be permitted, and to provide for the removal of those who, not being permitted to reside within the United States, refuse or neglect to depart therefrom, and to establish any other regulations which are found necessary in the premises for the public safety. And that's exactly what the president did on March 15th. And it results in the expedited removal of these Tren de Aragua and other drug cartel and criminal terrorist gangs that the president has so declared, all in accordance with laws that Congress has enacted. Very important point there. And it was that day, it was 250 such enemy aliens were deported. We went over 50 U.S. Code Section 21. Now, some of these removals are being challenged, including from Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an El Salvadoran illegal alien who was an MS-13 member. And we know that because in his removal orders, it states that he's an MS-13 member. And so, it's been found. And Pam Bondi in the video we showed went into some of the details there of how we knew that. But even if he wasn't MS-13, Pam Bondi says he is, and that's and she says he's gone, he's deported. She has that power. We'll get to that statute in a moment. Who was removed to El Salvador after also being named an enemy alien. However, his asylum claim was not filed in a timely manner. So if you go back to this bond proceeding here, let's see. I want to get to the part where it talks about the the withholding of removal. Although the respondent stated he intends to file for asylum, his eligibility appears limited to withholding of removal and protection. So withholding of removal means that, we're going to deport you back to El Salvador. You don't have to go there. We'll deport you to somewhere else. So he might be eligible for that. On the other hand, that can be overridden by the Attorney General. Speaking to reporters on April 14th, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller noted that the withholding of removal can in turn be overruled by the Attorney General. Quote, the Attorney General has authority to overrule the Immigration Court, and that's actually by statute. So here's Stephen Miller speaking to the press a few days ago. And we don't need to listen to that. We'll just read from the transcript here because you have to jump around a little bit here. And Miller is absolutely right. Under 8 CFR section 103.10 subsection B, and this is a regulation, precedent decisions, except as board decisions may be proceedings before immigration judges, the Board of Immigration Appeals, and the Attorney General are governed. Decisions as precedent, except as board decisions may be modified or overruled by the board or the Attorney General. Decisions of the board and decisions of the Attorney General shall be binding on all officers and employees of the Department of Homeland Security or immigration judges in the administration of the immigration laws of the United States. And this is done if you look at the details, this tells you what sections of law this regulation is based upon. One of them is 8 U.S. Code 1103. And here it is, subsection A. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall be charged with the administration and enforcement of this chapter and all other laws relating to the immigration and naturalization of aliens, provided, however, that determination and ruling by the Attorney General with respect to all questions of law shall be controlling. So this is stipulating that when there's a dispute about immigration law, you go to the Attorney General can settle it. And then under subsection G, the Attorney General shall have such authorities and functions under this chapter and all other laws relating to the immigration and naturalization of aliens as were exercised by the Executive Office for Immigration Review or by the Attorney General with respect to the Executive Office for Immigration Review on the day of effective date of the law, and the Attorney General shall establish such regulations, prescribe such forms of bond, reports, entries, and other papers, issue such instructions, review such administrative determinations in immigration proceedings, delegate such authority, and perform such other acts as the Attorney General determines to be necessary for carrying out this section. And so this regulation was put into effect under those laws. It's 8 U.S. Code section 1103. You can look it up. And actually, if you read my piece, you can just click on it. There it is. Miller went on to note that expedited removals of dangerous illegal aliens and mass deportation more broadly were necessary, or else it may never happen. So you have 15, 20 million people here. How are you going to expedite their removal on a mass deportation basis if you're going to have 15 million trials? Do we have 15 million judges? I don't think so. Quote, there's 15 million illegal aliens that violated the country. If every one of them got the trial that you're asking for, it would take us centuries to remove them. Centuries. We're talking about this in 300, 400 years. Their great-grandchildren would be the ones representing them in court. That's how long it would take. Illegal aliens who come to our country have to be removed, and they have to be removed quickly. And that is an essential component of having something that we like to call a country. So if you're going to have a country, you need to be able to do this. And so Trump is definitely, here you have these removals, and then there's a withholding of removal. And then the Supreme Court rules in on this. They say, you have to, get Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. You have to facilitate his return if El Salvador wants to return him. El Salvador is saying, nope, he's MS-13. We're holding on to him. We don't want him running loose, and we're not going to put him back in the United States. That's our citizen. You can't, federal courts, you can't compel us to take, to give him back. And so President Trump, he's under no obligation to order El Salvador to bring back the citizen of El Salvador who belongs in El Salvador, who was here illegally and apparently was an MS-13 gang member. But even if he wasn't an MS-13 gang member, he was here illegally. So he doesn't belong here, and he can be deported under that basis alone. And so it appears the removals are being expedited once again under laws that Congress has passed, putting the lie to former President Biden's claim that action was necessary by Congress in order to do anything. As it turns out, it takes a precedent. there were at least 6 things former President Joe Biden, under laws Congress already enacted, he was unwilling to do. Declare a national emergency, put the military on the border, build the wall, get tough with Mexico using tariffs, declare the gangs to be terrorist organizations, and expedite removals under the Alien Enemy Act and by the Attorney General. It doesn't take an act of Congress because Congress has already acted. It takes the act of one man, the president, in whom the executive power is vested under Article 2 to enforce the laws of the land. It's about time. This is Robert Romano, Executive Director with Americans for Limited Government and Americans for Limited Government Foundation. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and have a good day. I think we have one chat here. I'll jump to it real quick. Let's see here. Mike Ferreira, what a bunch of traitor BS. Yeah, I guess so. Anyways, this is Robert Romano, Executive Director with Americans for Limited Government and Americans for Limited Government Foundation. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and have a good day.